Now assume that I have a fight with Apiwe, my friend now, who is a black guy. As soon as he hits me, it's considered that it's racist because it's a black person hitting a white person. No consideration given to the fact that maybe Dean is just an arsehole and deserved a hiding, and that Apiwe was justified in hitting me, and now we've sorted it out. As soon as race is present, it is attributed to racism. My name is Dean Haystack, the Dean, and you're listening to The Coffee Conversation. I don't think that racism around the world and in South Africa is nearly as bad as it's made out to be, and I want to qualify this. At the moment, racism is being compared to the coronavirus around the world and in South Africa, and I really like this comparison because I think it's going to highlight the reality that neither are as bad as what they're making it out to be. And who's telling us how bad it is? Both racism and the coronavirus. Number one, it's the political leaders and organizations and governments around the world who are feeding this information to the people on the ground that the coronavirus is the worst epidemic in our lifetimes. This is being reinforced and not challenged, but reinforced by the media. Those are the two that are enforcing this and imposing this mindset upon the people of the world regarding the virus, and I believe regarding racism as well. Let me give you an example, and let's look at the coronavirus. We've been told worst epidemic in our lifetime. What are they saying the virus has done? They're blaming things on the virus that is not the virus's doing. It is their words that is doing this, it's their decisions around the virus that is doing this, and it's being reinforced by the media. So what are they saying? Malnutrition in South Africa, first time in our lifetimes, is being blamed on the virus. The increased hunger in South Africa is being blamed on the virus. The increase in unemployment is being blamed on the virus. The industries being shut down is being blamed on the virus. Those industries and businesses in those industries, many of them will never ever open again, so they've closed down for good, is being blamed on the virus. The abuse that is happening in abusive homes that has increased because the children and the women and the men are all together at home all day is increased. They're blaming on the virus. They are blaming the severity of those abuse situations because now the guy's irritated because he's not getting his booze and his cigarettes, so he's even more aggro than normal. The abuse is increasing. They're blaming it on the virus. The separation anxiety, the depression that's coming from that, and the increase in suicides that's happening because of the decisions that they made, they're blaming on the virus. The virus has done none of those things. The government's decisions, the decisions that have been imposed on the people, is causing all of those things. It's not the virus. I think it's the same with racism. Let's relate that to racism. So I'm at school up until 1989, and I have fights with lots of guys. Sometimes they hit me, sometimes I hit them. But up until 1989, only whites present in the school. So it was never considered to be racism because it wasn't. Now assume that I have a fight with Apiwe, my friend now, who is a black guy. As soon as he hits me, it's considered that it's racist because it's a black person hitting a white person. No consideration given to the fact that maybe Dean is just an arsehole and deserved a hiding, and that Apiwe was justified in hitting me, and now we've sorted it out. As soon as race is present, it is attributed to racism. And that's what is happening in the media. We can't assume that every single time races are involved that it's racism involved. The same as we can't assume that every single time corona is present when somebody dies of a heart attack that corona caused a heart attack. And this is why I say I don't think that racism is nearly as widespread in the world or in South Africa as exactly the same as I don't think that coronavirus is nearly as bad as what they're making it out to be. And it's the politicians, and it's reinforced confused by the media, and we're believing both. We're believing that this virus is more dangerous. There is fear. There is a smoke of confusion. There is an unknown element, and that's what's creating most of the fear. I don't have a problem with meeting somebody even with the coronavirus. I will take my chances with it. I will social distance. I will do that. Well, the damage that's being caused from the decisions made are far outweighing the dangers of the desires as they are manifesting. And it's exactly the same as racism. As soon as a white person and a black person are involved, it's assumed to be racist purely because races exist. This is not a racist country. This is not a racist country in the general sense. It's not a racist world anymore. It really is not. My car broke down. It didn't break down. I ran out of petrol the other day. So I ran out of petrol. I had to pull over to the side of the road. 3 cars pulled in front of me. 3 separate black guys got out the cars and they came towards the car not to attack me, but to help me. Another 5 black people came across the road, not to attack me, but to help me. None of them knew each other. They just saw a guy in trouble. They didn't see a white guy in trouble, a green guy in trouble, a purple guy in trouble, a black guy in trouble. They just saw, hey, the car's broken down. Let's go help. That is not racism. That is what happens many times in South Africa. At the moment, we've got millions and millions, tens of millions of people who are suffering financially. Yet we've got millions of people, and many of them are white. In actual fact, there's over 1 million white people who at the moment are actually spending billions of rands trying to help the people in need with no food. And most of them are black because there is inequality. But the inequality is being blamed on racism, yet the people who are trying to help are not being racist. And they're just a different race. And it's being blamed on racism. This is not a racist country. There are a hateful few. There are some racists. You know, with the coronavirus, every now and then, somebody does actually die. There is the hateful few. There is the dangerous incident. But it's nowhere nearly as big or as widespread as what they are making it out to be. But we believe it. I'm encouraged because I don't think that there's that much racism. It's the politicians, the leaders of these organizations who like racism because it is their war cry to rally the troops. Most of us just want to get on. And if the hateful few aren't confronted, if racism, the real racism, isn't confronted, the few racist white bastards that are over here and the few racist black bastards who are over here, if they aren't confronted, it's 100% right. If we don't stomp that out like the virus, if we don't destroy it like the virus, the rest of us are going to suffer. The rest of us are going to, we have to stomp out even the little bit of racism that there is. I agree. I don't like racists. I don't like racism. But it's a good thing to identify that actually most of us agree with what I just said. Most of us agree, of course, Black Lives Matter. Most of us agree, of course, farmers' lives matter. Of course, the colors in the flats' lives matter. And they are suffering because you have got a hateful few murderers who are actually killing the men, killing the women, killing the children. None of us like those guys. But because it's called a racial issue, the whites don't defend the blacks don't defend the whites, and we're doing this all alone. There's no race, there is racism in this country, but it's nowhere near as bad as you're making it out to be. Politicians, organizations who are spewing this out, you are the hateful few yourselves. As soon as you see a white and a black person have some kind of altercation, I don't care what color you are, as soon as you say that it's racist, purely because there's a black and a white person in there, you're right, it is racist. What you're saying and what you're doing is racist by calling it racist. If you do that, you can see the racism in yourself. And I suppose that's kind of I'm trying not to get worked up. That's kind of an admonition, if you like. That's kind of a little rap on the knuckles to all the racists out there, whatever color you are. We all have these prejudices. Not everything's racism. We cannot have a one-dimensional analysis to a multivariable problem. Poverty, yes, there is an element that causes of racism that causes poverty, but what about all the other elements that cause poverty? What about all the other elements that are from oppression? Assume there are countries out there that do not have a single other ethnic group in that country, yet there's still inequality, yet there is still poverty, yet there is still suffering, yet there is still oppression. What do you blame that oppression on? Because that oppression exists. There's no racism to blame it on. But it exists. So the oppression is real. The suffering is real, but not all of it is racial. If we can see that, we can fix the problem. Where there's a will, there's a way. If we haven't found a way, then I would suggest that there's no political will in order to get it done. There's no general will. If there's a will, there is a way. If we haven't found a way, there's a lack of will. Where is our will to resolve this? If we blame everything on racism, if the security guard grabs the woman and they say, it's racist because they're of a different race, then how are we going to solve the problem? Let me expose your prejudice in what I just said. How many of you assumed that the security guard was black and that the woman was white, or the security guard was white and the woman was black? I never said they were black or white. I said one of them was black. What did you assume when I said that? That is your prejudice. My name's Dean Haystack, and I'm just a guy who gives a damn.